Way back, my earliest goal was testing folding knives sold under the moniker of being tactical, and then sharing my information and personal results with the knife community. I definitely could have been more muted in my approach, and there's quite a few bridges I hope I can rebuild one day, and some apologies to make. I haven't taken those old videos down because regardless of how I appear in them, their history and times change. So to help set the perspective, and keep in mind this is just for today's topic, I'll ask you, just because something worked in the past, does that mean it's relevant to now today? Now I'm not saying that's truth someone should live by, but do you see cathode ray TV still being sold today, or VCRs? They worked back then, but now they're history. So right now, if you disagree wholeheartedly, then this is not a discussion topic you're ready for. For example, if you're someone that says Navy SEALs use insert knife company name here, but you don't consider the decade, that's sarcasm, then this is one topic of interest you're going to complain about even though it comes to you for free and for the sake of reflection. Now, if you are interested in seeing some variety of locking mechanisms on tactical knives, then I'm going to be comparing a few of the options out there and will be giving my opinion on what I think is the best tactical lock currently. Now, this has to be said, if you've never watched one of my videos, I have an infamous love-hate reputation, and I'm going to go ahead and drop a few bombs now and get them out of the way so we can have a backdrop for this topic. I'm hated for spine whacking Chris Reeve knives, but Mr. Reeve has added stabilizer discs. I made a video saying that steel frame locks are stronger than titanium, and quite a few frame lock knives now put steel inserts on the lock bar face. Strider knives change their lockup and hate me for showing lock rock on their knives, and I'm heavily disliked for criticizing the direct tapping of hardware on Emerson knives into the titanium liners, but now they have steel females. No one likes the messenger, but really the credit goes to many others that have shared their experiences online. You can make the call yourself to a reputable knife supplier, and they'll tell you that titanium shears easily. I understand now after having my own shop that there's more to the manufacturing side, and it's all about the recipe that works, and added complexity can create inconsistencies if there isn't a high level of skill or quality control in the craftsman. And my reviews can make a company or maker's design dubbed tactical look bad, but perhaps they haven't noticed the higher benchmark being set out there in the market. So what I have here is a broad selection of tactical knives from makers that have acknowledged in their design a need for evolved locking mechanisms. So if you've been stuck in the past, here's a wake-up call, because for quite some time things have been changing. I'm going to start with a simple introduction to what I think is the best design for tactical folders, then cover each knife here. Extreme use of a tactical knife has a lot of factors, grip and leverage being one of the most important, and with folders also deployment. So keep in mind that the knives here are being judged based on their lock design for tactical roles only, not EDC, weight, or any other factor we're considering. So here I've opened a Spyderco Delica with a back lock, and you can see how it works. And right here is a Micro Recon by Cold Steel with the famous triad lock. What's the difference? Can you tell? The triad lock is a compression type. The blade hooks the lock bar. You can see the difference in the way the hook is actually designed. So instead it actually pulls this lock bar into that stop pin, compressing it, basically pinching it. And so long as the pivot and the stop pin don't break, it's metal being compressed, which is highly strong. Does Spyderco make a backlock knife dubbed for tactical use? Well, here's the Kershaw, a backlock knife. Will its lock fail? All I can say is the Delica's fails, but let me add this, that specifically this design was made for slashing, so negative angle forces aren't the primary test against the lock. The most commonplace lock you're going to see, especially on expensive custom cutlery, is the frame or liner lock. But that never meant that this type of lock is the best. Perhaps because so many custom tactical knives use it, it's become something that thought to be optimal, But realistically, titanium's composition as a material focuses on being lightweight and corrosion proof. It's actually also the most abundant metal on the planet. But the frame lock is a sliding lock. There's a saving grace that simultaneously the weakness to the frame lock in liner locks, which is that it has no compressive forces. There is a possibility of one compressive force, and that is your grip. But if you can grip it, you can also unlock it. I intend to revisit Emerson knives, especially after watching a fellow YouTuber awesome review discussing some of the ideology of Mr. Emerson on how he can warranty his product and how that affects production and the design of his knives. And Mr. Emerson was respectful to me despite my negative review back in the day, so I owe him that and an apology that comes with wisdom. But here's one of his production collaborations, and I've tried to like it, but the switch to V-grind really kind of ruins it. And I was trying to cut through some rubber mat, and because of the blade shape, really the tip area was doing all the cutting, and it was a sawing motion. And with this V-edge and a short bevel height, it was shouldering right here on the saber grind. And I was very concerned about the lock disengaging because there was so much motion happening with my hand and the knife. This takes us to the CRKT Hisatsu. Branded literally as something a law enforcement officer or someone in the military would use, and with no hesitation to be promoted as being designed by a tactile expert. The Hisatsu does take things to another level. This knife impresses because it automatically engages a secondary safety lock when it deploys. Patented by CRKT to prevent accidental locking, being that this is a liner lock, that definitely is a step up for reassurance, and CRKT has been innovating in this area. Let's look here at the Kershaw Knockout. By specs, a great knife. Steel lock bar insert, so better life expectancy and more anti-shearing strength than titanium. Yeah, it's lightweight because of the aluminum handles, and they've even milled out the steel in the lock bar. You got the good LMAX, which is great steel and assisted opening. It's made in the USA, slim profile, perfect for TNPers. Only thing missing is jimping, sorry. And it's definitely something other tactical folders can compare to. But again, not optimal. You can see the definite advancement of the frame lock design concepts. Lightweight, minimalism. But if you look at these two, steel lock bars. Here's an old Spyderco with a steel lock bar insert. Quite a few makers have recognized that even though titanium saves weight, steel offers better reinforcement. So the point I'm making right now is personally I'm not impressed when I see a tactical knife using straight up titanium frame lock or liner only. They can be more than secure enough, but I think they're outdated, and despite the benefits both in manufacturing simplicity and construction, they're not optimal. I think a serious tactical folder should be compression type, with a safety choil, otherwise they should drop the tactical propaganda. Now I will concede that there are great frame lock knives, utilitarian knives such as Sebenza's, which is like a personal favorite, same with 3-inch hingers, and tie frame locks can make great light to medium use EDC blades with proper use and handling. So now we come back to Spyderco. Not the only company that has innovated in the field of knife compression locks, but definitely, if you haven't noticed, has been continuously promoting and supporting the idea. The Pikal, Sabo, Sage 3, I'm missing the Yojimbo 2, these are all compression locks. Of course, you have the Cold Steel Recon. And the oldest and most free to use, the concept of the bolt lock, similar to like a deadbolt in the doorway, is definitely the strongest. And you can see here, again, multiple tactical experts who, when given the chance to collaborate with Spyderco, have chosen compression locks. I'm going to wrap this video up by adding some philosophy. And whether you're a permanent sub or a new viewer, I ask you personally to just hear me out, hear this last final point I have to make, because I think it's one of the most important. It really is the most crucial part of this video and why I made this video. So I'm going to reference my previous example of a door bolt to illustrate my point. You look at the overall size and sturdiness of that, and then you look at a folding knife. and it's obvious the difference. In 2012, tactical knives are about having bigger hardware and thicker blades. In 2015, more makers now are using their brains and science. But even with some modern engineering concepts finally being incorporated into folders sold as tactical, to me they are still a huge deception in my opinion. I mean, I see these tactical companies posting pics, holding their folding knives upside down, and make videos showing the action, talking about how smooth it is to open, and they carry them in their pocket with a girly tassel on it and some bead. And that is not what someone looking for a tactical solution should be doing with their time. Unless you are a practitioner of blade weapons, most first worlders are not trained to grip a knife securely if they're being hit or hitting a solid object. And even then, traditional combat knives offered prominent hand guards for their trained fighters. Take it from me personally. In real life, the anatomy of your hand, different grips, the profile of the knife, and how the forces received transfer back in your hand can lead to self-mutilation. Buying a knife to use in a fight is serious. You better have serious commitment and have thought it completely through. There's nothing wrong with normal utility EDCs, and it might be better in the long run for you. A tactical folder can work. I'm not closing with the argument that there can't be a secure folding knife lock. But if you look historically, we go right back to my opening question. Just because it worked back in the day, is it still relevant today? Ancient warriors in my imagination would very unlikely want to take a modern folding knife into war. Let me end with a statement that will increase my infamy. But I don't think any authentic knife figure would suggest in any way that a folding knife is for anything besides medium utility primarily, knowing the real-world situations knives are used in. Instead, a telescopic baton, or a traditional fighting knife, pepper spray, or even emergency push daggers and spikes, you're going to be on the bad side of the law regardless if you're using any blade. At that point, survival takes precedence, and you want a real-world weapon that's effective in prisons, riots, used by police. I mean, there's a reason they're deemed illegal for civilians. All I'm asking is take a moment to step outside the box. Take all these knives advertised to you as tactical, from companies and different manufacturers selling them, and start spending more time studying martial arts techniques and war history. I enjoy hearing people tell me how they will stab a 230-pound MMA fighter that has training to knock you out with one punch, and how they intend to dodge that punch, stab them in the vials using their way too short blade to be lethal, and you will probably be laid out on the floor with your hand in your pocket, and they will have a knife to use on you and then drive to the emergency room for some complimentary surgery. And in the end, if you're still alive, you'll be getting a court date, or you'll be living the rest of your life watching your back because you decided to pull a knife on somebody.